Hi guys, welcome to this session in Microsoft Visio. In this module, I want to show you some of the best and most common diagrams used in video. So the first one that I want to do is a basic flowchart, and I'm going to go to the new option, and from there you'll see some of the most recently used diagrams that you've done. I've used flowchart recently, so here I go. I'll click on that one, and then I will create a blank option. You get these template options, but I'm going to go for a blank option and create a blank canvas. So what you get when you create a new diagram is down the left hand side you get a series of stencils, as you can see here. So you've got more shapes at the top with an option to grab stencils from other templates, and as you can see, as you hover over those, there are quite a lot of different options where you can go and get different icons from these templates. You've got quick shapes at the top, some tools there in this stencil, basic flow chart shapes, which I'm going to use, and then cross-functional flow chart, which is slightly different underneath. But I'm going to stick with this one. So the way you go is you basically drag and drop the shapes onto this canvas and build up your flow chart. So if I drag this shape on, start and finish, you can see how it works. Now there's a couple of ways of building a flowchart. You can hover over a shape and you get these little arrows, directional arrows coming out, which will give you a few different shapes, not all the shapes, but a few different shapes that you can select if you so wish to come out of the bottom there, or the side, or the top, whichever way you go. Or you can just basically manually drag on a shape yourself. Now if I just do this next one, I'll just drag it on. What you can see as I do that is that this sort of lines up, so you get it nice and neat. But what hasn't happened is there's no connection going on between these two shapes, which is what I want to happen. So I'm going to delete that one off, click on this one, and activate the connector tool. Now with this tool activated, when you drag a shape on, it will automatically connect it like that. You can see the line coming down there. You can move that across and line it up or do whatever you want to do. Keep it as straight as you can possibly get it. So it's totally up to you how you do this. I personally like to have the connector tool on, but if I show you, if I undo that one and not that one, if I undo this one and just break that off and put this back to pointer and try using the diagrams coming out below, because that's a process. The connector tool is sticking that there straight away, and if I go down again, you can see I'll do a decision. That's a decision, and I'm going to come out of the side of that with another process, and now I want a connection back to that. So what I've got to do is create that myself, come out of the side of the shape and just move it around to the other shape so it snaps into position like so. Then I'll take that back off, and I can either come down on this one or down on this one, whichever way you want to go. So I'll come down on this one, I'll do another process, and then I'll come down and do a finish like so. Now there's my flow chart. Now I can type in all these boxes. So I can just call this whatever I want it to be. I'll call it induction, and when you start typing, it zooms in. So then I'll just quickly type process A, and then I'll type question. I'll do an abbreviation there, quest, and this one can be review, and then this can be process B, and so on and so on. You just basically type whatever you want in these boxes, and then that will be end of this flowchart. Now, what you've also got on these shapes, if I go to the view tab, you've got the option to put in shape data. If I add shape data so it docks to the side, each of these shapes has got some preset data types on this right hand side here. You can see what you can put there. You can put a cost in there, you can put process name. All of these you can add details to. This is like a little database that sits behind each of these shapes. On the right click, if I right click, you can go in data, and then you can go define shape data, and that will give me this box where I can delete some of these if I don't want them, or add some extra ones by clicking new, and then you can move them around. You can also put a sort key in there, so if I put a number, if I want that to be the top one, I can put a number 1 in there, and that will always be at the top of the list, or whatever you want. There's a number there. I don't really want any of these to be edited, so I'm going to leave them all how they are. But if I want to, I could add a new one and put name of the process, so it would say review as opposed to just costs and things like that. I'll click OK to that, so I don't want to change any of that. Now, in terms of the background of all of your diagrams, you've got the option there under design to add a background page. So I'll go for the world, which is what everybody likes to see, and that just attaches a background page to this first page, page 1, and there's the background page, page 1, background page. Same with borders and titles. If you wanted some borders and titles, that also goes onto the background page. I can't actually double click on it here. I have to get into the background page and give it a title in there. Induction, that'll do. Come back onto the first page where that is, and there's your flowchart with a nice background and a title block. So that's the probably most common diagram that people use in Visio, a flowchart or a type of flowchart, a variant of that, because there are quite a few different ones. But I'd say the next most common one would be an organizational chart. So if I go File, New, and grab the organizational chart, now it wouldn't always be sitting there, it's because I've used it recently. You might have to go into categories and then find it, but I'll click on that one. And then again, you've got this option here. These are ideas, if you like. I'm going for this one, and then I'm going to cancel the wizard off because it's going to ask me questions about where I'm going to get the data from and things like that. I'll just cancel the wizard off, and I can do this myself. So basically this works like this. You pull a shape on, like this is the top level shape, and then you can drag and drop shapes. So if I grab a manager and sort of sit him on top of that, it will snap underneath like so. If I do that again, drag and drop, I'll get 3 like that. Now, if I want to put, say, 5 people under here, I've got this option to drag multiple shapes or 3 shapes there. I'll go for multiple. I'll drop it on that one. And then it asks me, what do I want? I want positions, and I want 5 positions to come out underneath that one. So it drops it down like so. It's gone onto a second page, but that's okay. Now, this is coming in a bit. I want it to go that way. So if I click on the title, I've got layout options at the top here where I can select which way I want that to sit. So it's on that one. I want it to go on that one. So it flicks over like that. Now you have to be on the manager to do that. So if I click on this one, and I'll just drop 3 positions on that one, and that'll drop down. Let's see how that looks. That's okay. And if I do the last one, I'll do 3 positions on that one as well. You can change it from positions. I'm going to have to change the layout on this one, I think. So I want that one to go the other way, out. So if I click on the top, go to layout, and I want that one to be, it already is out according to that. Well, let's change the middle one. Let's see if I can do slightly different in the middle one. We don't actually get one. They're all fairly similar. None of these are going to do what I want to do. Maybe that one. Let's try that one. Yeah, that's moved across a little bit, so that's a bit better. Now, when you right click on any of these shapes, you've got some features. You've got subordinates. You can hide subordinates. If I click on that for a minute, it just hides everything because that's the top level. And then you've got subordinates. I'll just go show subordinates. You can right click and you can add a picture. You can insert a picture into each of these boxes on this diagram because it's got a picture symbol there. I don't want to do that. You can change the position type from all of this, and so on. You can also create what's called a synchronized copy. So for example, if I click on this shape and right click. Synchronize copy would basically make a copy of this list onto a separate sheet, so I'll do that. New page, because there's no pages there other than this page, so I'll click OK, and then that'll sit on a different page as a group. Now the items that are synchronized is the text that you type, not shapes. So if I go back to page 1 and start adding extra shapes, that will not be picked up on page 2. I will have to synchronize it again. It is just the text. So that's an organizational chart, a very quick one, very popular one. And the last one I want to do, which is also very common, is like a little Gantt chart, which is in the scheduling group. So if I go File, New, I want a Gantt chart. There's a timeline. It's in the same group as that, but I'll go to Categories and find it through Categories so you can see where it sits. So it's in Schedule, and then you get all the templates under the Schedule group, and I want the Gantt chart, which is that one. And again, I'll go for the blank option and Create. It's just going to sit on top of this one. So you get a wizard now asking you how many tasks you want. I'm going to leave all of this on the default settings, but you can change this and change the date range. You've got the date formats on the second tab as well. You can change it on there. But I'll just click OK to the defaults, and it'll generate 5 tasks for me. So I'll leave them on task 1, task 2, etc., etc. But what I'm going to do with my shift key is I'm just going to hold my shift key down and click on these other tasks, because if I go up to the Gantt chart tab, you've got different options here where you can indent or outdent tasks. So I'm going to indent those tasks. So what that does, it creates a summary bar across the top. Now if I put some durations underneath, if I put 2 days there, you see that moves across, and if I put 4 days there, it's defaulting to days. I'll leave you the 2 on 1, like so. So the summary bar is picking up the total time of this. If I do the same sort of thing again, I hold my shift key down, but just click on the bottom 4 again. You can use a link to link them, and then they'll follow on, and you get your timeline getting a bit bigger at the top. Now in the stencil itself, you've got some tools that you can bring. You can bring a column across, an extra column across. So if I just sit that there, when you drop it, it'll ask you what do you want in that column, and you've got lots of different options there that you can select. I'll leave it on percentage complete, and then I'll just add one more column, and what I'll do there is do resources, because we get a bit tight in terms of space. So you've got resource name there, and then that'll fit in there nice and neat like that. So this is quite good, I think, because it's very simple to use. I mean, you can type people's names in here. If I just type Steve in there, you can see how that works. And if I go to the view tab and get the same information, shape data on there, you can see a lot more information when you select certain things. So if I click on to a task, for example, this one that's got Steve on it, you can see that Steve is being put there, and you've got all of this information that you can fill in as well. You've got percentage complete and that column, which I haven't filled in, but if I did fill that in, if I put something in there like 45% complete, and then just click away, you can see you get a little bar coming through there. If I click on the line between these tasks, so I've got the line selected, you've got lag, a positive number there. If I put 2, that's a 2-day lag. You should see when I press enter, you get a gap away from that. If I click off it, you should get a 2-day lag on that task. I'm not sure if it did a 2-day lag there. Let's click back onto that link. Put a 4-day lag in there, 4D. You've got a 2-day lag there. And if I put a minus number in, so if I put a minus number on that one, you get so I'll go minus 4 days there, 4D. Press enter on that, you get a lead time coming in, comes back like you can see there. So that's a very quick look at a Gantt chart. You can do all the same things with the background and the titles that I showed you on the first one, But those three diagram types, those three templates are the most common ones in Microsoft Visio. You've obviously got other ones that you can do diagrams where it's like a floor plan. You can do similar stuff that you can do in AutoCAD, not to the same detail, but you've got engineering diagrams and things like that. It's worth a look at. But that's all I want to talk about on this little video. So hopefully that was of use. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you on the next one.